I'm Andrew Ramdial, and I've been PMP certified since 2007, so quite a long time now. I hold over 60 different certifications from a wide variety of vendors, such as CompTIA, Cisco, Microsoft, ISE Square, Amazon, did I say Amazon? ISACA, EC Council, and many others. I'm also the author of this book, PMP Exam Prep Simplified. This is Amazon's best-selling study guide right now for the PMP exam in the world, by the way. Now, if you're probably thinking, do I need this book? Maybe, maybe not. So here's why. You see, this course is a self-contained course. This course in particular that you guys are taking spans more than 30 hours. I couldn't fit 30 hours of content in a study guide. This book is a written version of this course in text format and crammed down. So all the key points in this course are right here. So if you don't want to take notes, you can just buy this book if you like. This contains all the notes in it. Now, this book is available on Amazon in most markets. If you can't find it on Amazon or you don't have Amazon in your market, you can also purchase this as an e-copy with this domain link, tiaexams.com. Editors, don't forget to add the link here or add the URL, tiaexams.com, where you can get an e-copy of this book. I'm also the CEO and founder of the Technical Institute of America. This is my company where we teach a lot of live training, especially I teach a lot of security training and live PMP classes. I also have a YouTube channel, which I want you guys to join me on. First of all, join me on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, type my name in there and follow me. I put a lot of content for PMP and other certifications. I say congratulations to thousands of people that pass every single week using my material. So if you want to stay encouraged, you want to see people passing the exam, follow me on LinkedIn. Now on YouTube, follow me on YouTube also, subscribe to the channel. On YouTube, I put a lot of content for PMP, all the updated material content, anything that PMI is changing, any problems students are facing, any new topics that people may have. Hey, maybe you found me on YouTube. So go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. On YouTube, I do a live stream every single Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Join me on the live stream. I want you guys to know something. You're not alone taking this course. I'm here with you. I'm here live with you every single week. So if you have any questions that you went through a video topic and you didn't understand, maybe you have questions about the application, maybe you have questions on exam content, please come to the live stream live and ask me those questions. I answer every single person's question that's posted there. You can also go back and watch past live streams. On those streams also, I also do practice questions with you, and I show you how to apply the PMP mindset to get those questions correct. They're incredibly valuable and they keep you encouraged because on those streams, you find people that pass. Go and watch some of the past ones. You'll see so many people, the thousands of people that have taken these courses with me to pass. You'll see them posting there that they pass. It keeps you encouraged. So hopefully I can see you in maybe one or two or maybe all of the live streams. And of course, watch the other videos that is related to your exam. Okay, that's enough about me. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of this course and I'll see you in the next video. In this video, I'm going to be going over the PMP examination process. Now, these are basically 5 steps that I tell all my PMP students that you're going to need to go through in order to get PMP certified. Now, these steps assume that you haven't done anything yet, all the way to getting actually PMP certified, as it's not a simple process like other certifications where you may just sign up, take a test, and you're certified. You actually have to go through a process, fill it out an application, and whatnot that you need to get certified. But I do want to point out before I get started on this process is you do need to have 3 things. Always remember this. In order to get certified, you need to show PMI 3 things. Number 1, you're going to have to show them that you have completed a 35-hour course, a 35 project management hour course. That's what this class is. Number 2, you're going to have to show that you have some kind of formal education, high school diploma, bachelor's degree, associate's degree, and so on. And number 3, you're going to have to show that you have a certain number of years of experience. Now, we're going to cover that in another video, the number of years of experience. Again, we'll cover that in a few minutes. But let's take a look at this process. These are the 5 steps to getting PMP certified. So the 5 steps are, number 1, you're going to have to sign up for a 35-hour class. You cannot submit the application without this 35-hour class. You can fill out the application, but the submit button doesn't become active until you have put in the 35-hour class. Now, this course is that 35 hours that when you complete this course in its entirety and you get the official certificate for it, then you can go to PMI, put this course information in. We'll talk about this in the last lecture of the course. You could put it in and then you can submit it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to sign up for it. You want to finish it off. Now, while you're in the course, we're going to work with you, and I'm going to be working with you to finish your application. Towards the end of the course, I have a whole section on how to fill out the application, how to document your project. I'll give you a couple samples of how to write those descriptions. You'll be able to download some templates on that, how to write those descriptions in order to submit it to PMI. That way, if you're ever audited, they'll be able to just read through it and it'll be correct. So you want to apply for the exam online. Now, when the course is done and you're finished the application, you could submit it. Now, when you submit it, you're going to have to wait 3 to 5 days for PMI to approve that application. Now, there is an audit part. We'll talk about that when we go through the application section. Some of you may be audited. Unlikely, but some of you might. So you got to wait 3 to 5 days for PMI to approve your application. Once PMI approves the application, they're going to send you a congratulations, you're approved to take the exam. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to PMI and you're going to schedule it. Now, there's 2 ways to take this exam. In another video, we'll talk of those methods, in which case you can do an in-person testing at a Pearson VUE Testing Center, or you can take it at home in an online proctored session. We'll take a look at the pros and cons of both of those coming up later in the class. So you get it approved, you show up, you schedule it, you show up, you take the test. Once you pass the test, you are officially certified. There are some certifications that I have that even when you take the test, you're not certified. You got to go through an approval process. Not this one. The day you pass that exam, you'll be PMP certified. Like the moment let's say you take the test and you're certified at 11 o'clock in the morning, you can update your LinkedIn at 11:01 that, you know what? Hey, I'm PMP certified. So the moment you finish, you're good. So just a quick recap. The first thing you want to do, make sure you complete your 35-hour class, fill out your application, submit it to PMI, wait 3 to 5 days for PMI to approve it, go online, pay for the exam, schedule the exam, then you're going to take that exam. Once you have taken that exam, and you have passed it, you're PMP certified, and you are ready to apply for those brand new jobs that you probably can't apply for right now because you don't have your PMP certification. So let's get started, get you PMP certified. We're going to have to show PMI 3 things. We're going to have to document 3 things on the application to submit it. Number 1, you're going to have to document your formal education. This is going to be like your high school diploma, your highest one, your high school diploma, your associate's degree, your bachelor's degree, your master's, or maybe PhD. So you got to have some kind of formal education. Number 2, depending on that formal education, you're going to have to show a certain number of years worth of experience. And that's going to be dependent on that formal education. 36 months or 60 months, again, depending on that formal education. And number 3, you're going to have to show 35 hours of project management education. That's what this course is. This is the 35 hours worth of project management education. So I have, right here, I have the requirements right off of the PMI's website. I literally just copied, pasted, put it here. So let's take a look at this. So we basically are going to have 2 brackets that we should know. Now, the first bracket is going to be whether you have a 4-year degree or better. It just doesn't have to be a bachelor's degree. You can show a master's or a PhD if you like. So if you have a 4-year degree, you're going to have to document 36 months leading projects. And then you're going to have to show 35 hours of project management education, or if you have a CAPM, that also counts. That's what this course is, right? They both have this section. So let's talk about these 4-year versus the other one being the high school diploma or associate's degree. You're going to have to show 60 months. So let's talk about the months, right? A lot of questions I get from students is, hey, Andrew, does my experience counts? Well, that's what we're going to spend a few minutes on in this video. So a lot of people have this confusion. I can't take the PMP exam because I don't have 36 months of being a project manager. I don't have the title of being a project manager. Okay, let me just start off by saying you don't need the title of a project manager to be leading a project. Notice it doesn't say the word, and again, this comes off of their website. It doesn't say project management, right? It just says leading projects. It doesn't say you have to be the official project manager. If you were a assistant project manager, if you were a project leader, if you were just on the project but leading a small team of the project or a subset of the project, all of that counts. You don't have to be the official project manager. And then another question that people say to me, hey, is Andrew, my experience, I've only worked, my project had 2 people. It's a small project. That's fine too. There is no size of the project. The project doesn't have to be really large and a certain type of business. It can be in any type of business, and it could be of any size. I'm talking in terms of head count. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It doesn't have to be in terms of revenue count either. It's not like the project has to be $5 million or $1 billion. Nothing like that. As long as it's a project within your organization that you were leading certain parts of it, or maybe you were the project manager leading the entire project, that counts. So if you have that 4-year degree, we're going to have to show 36 months on that application. If you have anything under that, basically, you're going to have to show 60 months on the application, which is 3 years or 5 years. Now, the actual experience does not have to be consecutive. A lot of people say, does it have to be consecutive? No, you could have done, maybe in 2015, you did 1 year. Maybe in 2017, you did another year. In 2019, you did another year. There you go. 3 years, you have a bachelor's degree, you're going to qualify. Now, one of the questions I get is, how do I document this? Well, towards the end of the class, follow me in that section where I go through all the steps. I'm actually going to create a profile on PMI, a John Doe profile, and I am going to fill out the application. You're going to see how I do it. I'll show you how to put in those degrees. I'll show you how to put in the 35 hours of education. And then I'm going to show you how to put in your projects individually. And I'll give you some templates of how to write that description. That's one of the most common questions I get. Oh, does my description count? Am I writing this correctly? Just follow the template that I give you, and you'll be just fine. They're not difficult to write, but you do need to write them in a certain method. That way, if your application is audited by PMI, they read the description, they would have gotten the correct information, and they don't have to come back and ask you again. Okay, so these are the requirements needed to take your PMP exam. Keep these things in mind. I always tell students that, you know what, you're going to have to show 3 things. Once again, quick review: formal education, experience, 35-hour class. Just remember, those are the 3 things you're going to need to show actually in order to take your PMP exam. Video, I'm going to be talking about the PMP exam itself, how many questions and how your score report will look when it's all done. Let's get into it. So the PMP exam is an exam that will consist of 180 questions. Now, there are going to be multiple types of questions. These types of questions are going to include drag and drop, multiple choice, where you have to select one or select multiple. There's even some where you have to click on certain graphics in order to answer it. We'll take a look at the question type in another video. So there's going to be 180 different types of questions that's going to be on your exam. So 180 questions, and you're going to have 230 minutes to complete this exam. And you're going to also get 2 10-minute breaks. Now, is that enough time to finish the exam? And the answer is yes. And the 2 10-minute breaks is good to help you rejuvenate your mind. And then comes at the end of the exam will not give you a numerical score. It's not that like it's going to tell you, hey, this, you got 80% or 90. It's just going to say you pass or you fail. Now, okay, that's the brief overview there. Let's talk in depth about them. So the first thing up I want to talk about is this 180 questions. So with this 180 questions that's on there, not every single one is going to count towards your score. In fact, some of them will not be counted towards your score. There are about 5 or 10 questions or so that's probably not going to be counted towards your score. I think they're counting 175 right now towards your score. That means that there's going to be a few of them that what PMI is called pretest questions. A pretest question is a question that PMI is testing the strength of. If the question is too easy or it's too hard, it's eliminated out of the testing pool. If everybody's getting it right and everybody's getting it wrong, it's gone. PMI needs to maintain a consistent pace of certain number or percentage of people getting it correct for them to keep it in the testing pool. So they're testing that. Now the exam will not say, hey, this is a pretest question, then you don't have to answer it. It doesn't do that. So, do what you've done in every exam you've taken. Try to get as much right as possible, right? Now let's talk about the timer. 230 minutes to complete this exam, I think, is more than sufficient to complete this exam. I think it's a great amount of time. You see, previous to this, you had the exam with 4 hours, 200 questions. So that was 240 minutes to 200 questions. Now you have 230 to 180. So even though they lowered it by 10 minutes, they also took 20 questions off the bat. Now, even though there's different types of questions, before it was just straight multiple choice, now there's different types of more, I should say, interactive questions. That might drive up the timer for most people finishing the exam. But I will tell you guys this. From my experience and my students taking this exam, most of my students was able to finish this exam in about 3 to 3.5 hours just to go in time. Very rarely do I have students coming up to that 4-hour mark or finishing at the 4-hour mark. Most of my students, 3 to 3.5 hours. Quite a few of them, even under 3 hours, finishing the exam. So even though it was 3.5 hours, it was 200 questions. It was a bigger test. This one's a smaller test. So I think 230 minutes, I don't want you to worry about the timer. But if you are taking it in a language that you're not familiar with, or it may take longer for you to read, then you have something to think about. You may want to speed it up there or try to learn to read quicker, especially if you're taking it in English and English is not your language, something to think about. Now the breaks, please take the breaks. They're going to give you 2 10-minute breaks. Try to take the entire duration of the break. I don't like students sitting for 20. You can't sit for 4 hours anyhow. Everything will start to hurt. So you want to make sure that you get up, take a break, whether you're taking this exam online or you're taking it online or you're taking it in the testing center. You want to make sure that you take the breaks. Now we'll talk about online versus in-person testing in another video. But take the break. You want to make sure that you're rejuvenated. Walking around, put some blood in your head, get some fresh air, come back in, then take the test. Now it will say pass or fail. So pass or fail means this. You get the exam score report, you finish the exam, you click end, it's going to tell you whether you pass or you fail. Now it will break it down by its 3 domains. And the 3 domains are going to be people, processes, and business environment. So they're going to break it down. They're going to tell you how well you did. So you did proficient, not proficient. They say target, right? In this exam, I'm thinking of a CISSP exam. So in this exam, they're going to say needs improvement is your lowest score. Then they may say target, below target. Then they say target. Then the best one is above target. So that's how they're going to score your 3 domains. You want to make sure that you get target and above target in the people and the process one. If not, passing can be very difficult. So they're basically going to break down to you where you went right and where you went wrong by domains, and they're going to present a score report for you. So you don't have to wait a long time to get your exam score. Okay, this is the PMP, the current PMP exam, 180 questions, 230 minutes to complete it in. Make sure to take your 2 10-minute breaks, rejuvenate yourself, and then of course you're just going to get a pass or a fail. Hopefully we can all get a pass on our exam. It's going to have what's known as a standard multiple choice. Now, these are basically standard questions where you're going to have to choose one of those 4 choices. Pretty standard. Almost all PMP exam preceding this exam has been just that. Now we have the 4 new ones that was added in. The other one is going to be multiple responses. These are questions where you're going to have to select 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 of those choices. It just depends on the question. They may say select 2 that's correct, and you're going to have to select 2, maybe 5 or 6 choices that they're going to give you. This is also pretty standard. I mean, a lot of exams that I've taken that wasn't a PMP exam had multiple responses. All the CompTIA that I remember, Cisco, Microsoft exams basically had multiple responses. So these two are pretty standard. The next one, now the others, multiple choice is going to be predominant on your exam. Multiple responses, also you should fair amount. Now the rest of them, you're not going to get a lot of. You're going to get a couple of these questions. And one of them is going to be a matching. And this is going to be matching things up. Basically, some of them are putting things in order or matching them up to a particular scenario. PMI has a document on the website. I'll show you a prototype of what this looks like in a minute. The other one is a hotspot, and this means you have to click on a particular part of the diagram, or I'll call out a particular part of a diagram that is on the test itself. So it'll say, okay, which part of this diagram represents what they want? So a lot of times it'll be charts and graphs. This is why when you're going through the course, make sure you really know when I show you a chart or a graph, be able to really understand, be able to read it. The other one is going to be limited, fill in the blank. So they're going to give you a blank. It's going to be a straight blank there, and they're going to ask you to fill in this blank. So these are going to be the 5 different types of questions. Now, we do have on the PMI's website that I'm going to show you. Oops, I pressed the wrong button there. Here's the PMI's website about this. And, they're telling us, hey, this is on now. I'm going to make sure I put a link in this description so you guys can come here. But in here, they're telling you about the exam, but they also have something, see prototypes of questions. I'm going to put a direct link to this document so you have it. So they're calling these the new types of questions. This is a prototype that they gave out. So the first one is, this is going to be the drag and drop question. So like we're going to have to drag things. So right now we got 5 choices, but you only got to put 4 of them. So one of these will not be needed. So like identify stakeholders. I'm going to drag this, put this in initiate in. Monitor engagement, manage engagement, drag that in, drag this in. Right, we're going to have to drag things in there. Now, this doesn't work. This is just a PDF, so we can't drag things in here. So this is the first type, right? This is that drag and drop that I just mentioned. The other one that's mentioned here is called a hotspot. Right, so it said, click on the area where cost will increase the most. Now, you can't, it's a PDF, but it's telling you where is cost increasing the most. You're going to have to analyze. This is where I was telling you that you're going to have to really know your charts and your graphs. You're going to have to click on points where it's getting bad or it's getting worse, or you have to estimate something very specific on the graph. So this is called a hotspot question. The other one, now it says the scenario about the risk specific issues based on the current risk register and the scenario described, what entry should the project manager edit? And you have to click on something and you have to identify this is where they should edit. Now we can't do this question because we don't even know the scenario. It's just a portion of it showing you what it may look like. So as you get to your PMP exam, these are the types of questions you should expect. So when it pops up on there, hey, drag this over or identify this diagram and tell me where to click on. Now you know what it means. So this exam is pretty interactive, right? It's a pretty interactive exam where you actually have to start doing things. You have to actually go out there and click on stuff or drag stuff or identify graphs. This is good. That way, because you know why? As a project manager, we're going to be interactive too. Okay. These are the different types of questions on the exam. Let's keep going. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my new PMP exam simulator. Okay, guys. So most of you, or I should say a lot of you, have probably been waiting for quite a while for me to release my new PMP simulator, and here it is. Today is the day. So if you want to get my PMP simulator, check out this domain below. Check out this URL somewhere around here, maybe in this box over here, or at least in the description below. We'll have TIAexams.com. Okay, that's Tom India Apple. TIAexams.com is the domain. You guys can go and check that out, and you can get the PMP simulator. Now, the price is just an introductory price. That price will be going up real fast, real soon. So if you're watching this video, go check out the price. Make sure to get the simulator. We'll be adding some more questions to it a little bit later. We will be adding more questions to it later. Now, in this video, I want to explain to you what took so long for me to bring this out. what makes it so unique, and why I decided to create my own simulator. So I'm going to try to keep this one nice and short because you guys probably already left the video. You're probably already in that domain now, probably buying it. Or at least I hope so. Okay, so let's talk simulator. So this particular exam simulator is something that I've been working on for months, maybe about five months or so. I have spoken to so many people that have taken this exam and have passed this exam. You guys come to my live sessions here on Tuesday nights, and you guys see how many people pass with my mindset, my books, my video course, my live classes, and so on. Tons of people, thousands of people are passing. So when I made this simulator, I've done a lot of research. I spoke to a lot of students to make sure that my questions were good and they were somewhat structured like the real exam. At least they had the same difficulty as the exam. And that's what I try to do. Now, what I really want to tell you guys is what made it took so long. So yes, a lot of research went into it, but why? Well, what made it so unique? And there is something, I keep telling you guys, there was something on this exam, this simulator that was unique, and that is video-based explanations. Let me explain. So, the simulators are broken into groups of 60 questions. They're called mini mock exams. Because why? On the real exams, the real exam is broken into groups of 60 questions. So, when you do the simulator, you're going to get a mock exam that's, let's say mock 1 is going to be 60 questions. You're going to do it, you end it, you get your result, it tells you how well you did. And then when you start reviewing it, you're going to notice that questions, whether you got it right or wrong, you're going to get a link to a video. When you click on that link, there's going to be a video explanation of me explaining that question, me showing you how to apply the mindset that I created to help you guys pass, how I'm going to apply the mindset to actually answer the question correct. Isn't that cool? Because you know why I did this? Because as I was doing these Tuesday night sessions with everyone, and I was doing these practice questions, I've read so many posts online where people say, oh, Andrew's YouTube sessions, you got to watch and review the questions. This helped me pass. I've had so many comments in the descriptions under the videos where people say, oh, these reviewing the questions is what got me over the board. They passed. It was the recent one I read today. Somebody said they've been studying, then after watching me go over the questions, they were able to utilize those methods and pass. So as I'm talking right now, the first release of the simulator, there is close to 400 questions on it, and there are close to 400 videos. I recorded about 400 videos, and I put them with the questions. So every single question has a video explanation of me showing you how to apply the mindset to get it correct. If you do these questions and you go through all the videos, which I don't know if you guys will because it's a lot. It's a lot. If you watch these videos, you go through the question, watch the videos. By the time you get into the exam room, the mindset is going to be embedded into you. Like you're going to know it inside out. I'm pretty sure most of you are going to probably be able to answer those questions without probably even reading the question. Sounds like a crazy statement, but for the people that had demoed the product, a lot of them told me exactly that. Sounds crazy, and I'm hoping you guys get the same experience, and you guys are going to share your experience in the description, in the comments below, or as the time goes on and you join me in the live YouTube sessions. So that's what makes it unique. The video explanation of every single question. I'm going to show you why A is right or why B and C and D is wrong. I'm going to say the mindset says this is what you should do. This is how you're going to apply it. And I think that's super important and that's unique. I couldn't find really any other simulator that has this particular feature. Why? Because it takes a lot of work. It's a lot more work than maybe just writing a couple of sentences on why a choice is right and wrong. Because these videos were made, they were produced, I was in front of these bright lights like I am right now, for a pretty long time. Okay, so that's what makes it unique. The videos, and I'm going to show you how to apply those mindsets in the videos. So by the time you're finished with this, you're going to ace that test. Now, one last thing I want to talk about in this video is why did I create the simulator? Why did I decide to make the simulator? Well, here's why. I got real tired of students getting unnecessary anxiety because when using other simulators that I will not name, they score very low. Then they show up to the test and they do very well. That is not fair to the student. It brings them down. It reduces their hope, and that shouldn't be. As educators, we need to keep our students motivated. We need to give them realistic realities, not fake realities. Like, oh, if you take the exam, if it's like this, you're going to get 16, you're going to fail, or 50, whatever. I have to keep you motivated. And I promise you guys, if you do well on my exam, you will do well on the test. Now, let me give you some examples. So I've had students on taking a certain simulator would get 50%, 55%. Then they go take the real exam and they're getting above target, above target, above target. Really? So the above target is like maybe 80 to 100%. It's almost a perfect score. And then they do the simulator and they're getting 50, 60%. I'm like, what the hell is that? Why is there such a big disconnection between the simulator and the actual tests? Right? If the simulator is meant for you to get 50, 60%, and then the real test you're getting 80, 90%, there's a 30, 40 point there, don't use this simulator. All this is doing is unnecessarily giving you anxiety and headache for no reason. This simulator is not a representation of the real test. A real simulator will give you, if you score 80% on the simulator, you should get 80% on the test. That's a realistic thing. 50% on a simulator and then 90% on a test is not real. I don't care how you put it, that is not real. But if you get 80% here and 80% here, it's real. And I have tested this with my simulator. I have given my questions to students that taken our live class. We have given it to a bunch of them, and they have come back and tell me, Andrew, these are some of the best questions that I've seen. In fact, a lot of you guys have seen the questions I do on the YouTube channel here is some of the best questions you guys see on the real test. So that's why I created Simulator, because students are getting fake simulators out there. I don't want to call them fake. Hard simulator. Wrong word. Hard simulator. Unnecessary hard. No point in doing those. And for this 2021 exam, PMI has brought the knowledge base down. You should still review the PMBOK, but there's nothing to memorize. You should still review the Agile Practice Guide, really nothing to memorize. You gotta know principles. The exam is based on principles. My mindset comes from those principles. That's how I created the mindset. So, you don't need to do 1,000 questions or 2,000. I know some people say get 2,000 questions and 1,500 questions. No, you don't need that. From my experience in dealing with our students, you just need to know the mindset. You need to know how to apply it to the question. And I've had people, they finish 200 of my questions, they take the exam, they're just fine. Now, right now, the simulator, I think it's close to 400 questions. You guys can check that out. It's probably more by now. You guys check that out. And just do those and you're going to be fine. Now, some people are going to tell me, oh, Andrew, one of the things that people say to me is after doing the simulator, for those people that had early access to it, some people say, hey, Andrew, what about some of the questions seem like they're repeating? No, they're not repeating. They may seem like that. What we do is we change up the scenario slightly, but we give you different choices. Or we kept the same scenario, give you a bunch of different choices. The point was to apply the mindset, apply the principles that PMI wants you to know. And once you got those principles, you're going to go into the exam and you're going to just ace it. Okay, so guys, I don't want to have to spend this video too long. Go check out tiexams.com. We're going to talk more about the simulator as the weeks are progressing and as I teach you guys more, on my live sessions. So we'll talk more about it there. tiexams.com. Go check it out. And I will see you in the next video. Center. Now, an in-person exam is basically an exam where you're going to have to physically go to a testing center. Now, this exam is going to be administered by Pearson VUE. Both of them, the online and the in-person, is administered by Pearson VUE, by the way. So the in-person testing center, you have to actually leave your house. You have to drive to the testing center or take the train or the subway, go to the testing center, show up there, hang up your jacket, get your thumb, they're going to scan your handprint. They're going to check you in. I think it's a pretty stressful process going to a testing center. They put you in a testing room that is generally ridiculously cold. Keep in mind, guys, I have 62 certifications. I've taken over 100 exams, and I know these testing center, and I'm a pretty big guy. I'm generally never cold, so I have a fur coat on all the time, I should say. And it's generally freezing in that room. The chairs are uncomfortable. The monitor is too small. I'm not a fan of it. Let's just say I'm not a fan of it. So in 2019, 2020, because of the pandemic, that was happening in 2020, what happened was PMI decided to move the test online. And this is an amazing option. So instead of you having to go to the testing center, you can actually take it live online from the comfort of your home. So I'm in the TI studio right now, but when I'm at home, I have a nice big 24-inch monitor. I have a comfortable chair. The temperature in the room is set to the way I want it. The lighting is set to the way I want it. You could do this exam from the comfort of your home, as long as you have two things I tell students. Number one, you're going to have to make sure you have a good you're going to have a webcam internet connection and an internet connection. And you're going to have a quiet room. So you got to have the technology, right? You got to have the technology. You got to have the webcam, with the good internet connection, and you got to have a quiet room. Now, good internet connection, generally any good broadband, maybe above 10 megs, download is probably going to work for you. 10 megs I know is not fast. This is New York City, 10 megs, and I have a gig coming to my house, but 10 megs should be fine. Have a good reliable internet connection, I should say, and a nice quiet room. That might be more difficult. I know some of you guys, little children running around, I have a little dog running around, and, to take an exam, I have to put her in another room for a while. So you want to make sure you get a quiet room, no intruders. I shouldn't say intruders, right? No people coming in, right? We don't want anybody in the room because the proctors are going to be watching you. So let's talk about the setup here. First of all, pros and cons. So, the in-person testing center, some of you guys like it. Some of you guys feel it's more formal. Some of you guys feel like you're actually going to take an exam, and you don't have to worry about having the setup at home. Maybe you don't have that quiet room. Maybe you have noisy neighbors. Maybe you don't have a reliable internet connection. If you don't have these things, then go to the in-person testing center. The con, though, of an in-person testing center is the wait time. This is New York City. And in these big cities, and it doesn't matter where you live in this world, in your big cities, it's very difficult to find testing dates. Remember something, Pearson VUE doesn't just administer PMP exam. They administer many other for medical, law exams, IT certifications and whatnot. So many exams they administer, so getting a date is very, very difficult. So you may say, Andrew, I'm going to take this test next week. Good luck, because getting a date next week at an in-person testing is very difficult, because I've had some students have to wait 2 to 3 months and just end up doing the online exam. So keep in mind, pros and cons there. Now, the pro and con of doing the live proctor exam. So the first up is the pro. Number one, it's your environment. Number two, so when I say environment, by the way, I mean it's your chair, it's your lighting, it's your desk. You're more comfortable, less stress on you, I should say. Number two is the scheduling. This is a 24, let's write that down in there and say 24/7. What that means is you can take this exam at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday morning. I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but you could. There's 24-hour testing. Say if you're a night owl and you're a night person and you like working at 2 in the morning, knock yourself out. If you're like me and you're a morning person and you like taking exams early in the morning, like these videos, I like filming them in the morning. Cause I'm just a morning person. I like doing my best work comes in the morning. So I take all my exams early as possible in the morning. I once did an online exam at 5 in the morning because I woke up at 4 and that's just the way I am. So 24-hour testing, that means there's dates pretty much widely available. In my experience in teaching this, with the live proctored exam, I haven't had students wait more than a few days. I haven't had students take it the next day. So you can't go wrong. with the scheduling and the environment when taking these live proctored exam. Now, the live proctor exam, the cons of this is going to be, of course, you got to get the technology right. You have to have that quiet room. The other thing that I do want to point out is that the proctor will be watching you. So like how I have a camera pointed in front of me and you guys are watching me. Imagine this camera is pointing at me and I'm taking a test. They will watch you. Now, I don't know if they're actually watching you all the time because one proctor may be monitoring 10 to 15 people, I think, at the same time. But that camera has to be on. They are going to watch you take this exam. The other con here that I do want to point out is the whiteboard. All right. This is a deal breaker for many people. So let's talk about this. So the whiteboard is going to be, when you go to an in-person testing center, they actually give you a sheet of paper, or sometimes they give you a board with a magic marker. So they give you a paper with pencil or a board with magic marker. So you actually get to write things down. Remember, you are taking a PMP exam, so you should expect formulas, right? You should expect EVM formulas. You may have to draw a network diagram and figure out its critical path. That's all good. That's all great. But the problem is on the online testing, you don't have this whiteboard. You don't have this physical whiteboard. You have this virtual whiteboard where you have to use your mouse to draw things or you have to type on your keyboard. That of itself, I know a lot of students don't like. I've never met a student, believe me, I've done hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000+ students taking this online proctored exam. None of them liked it. So you do have that con there. Now, remember, you're not going to do a lot of questions, right? Your formula questions, you may only get 2 or 3 formula questions. You may only get 1 EVM questions. One CPM or critical path question. You may get 2 to 3 formula questions. You're not going to get a lot of these. And, if you're okay just drawing with your mouse or just typing it out on your keyboard a little bit, I think then the whiteboard will be fine. But overall, if you want Andrew's opinion, people ask me this all the time. Andrew, what do you think I should do? I recommend do the online exam. It's your environment, less stressful. You don't have to drive there. You don't have to be late. Just test the technology. When you do the online exam, Pearson VUE is going to send you a test file. You're going to open up this testing thing, this test file type thing. You're going to download, you're going to install it. You're going to log into it. It's going to say, okay, you're good. Your computer is all good. You got the right internet connection. And you do this days before. 30 minutes before the exam, you log in, you check in. They're going to show your ID you're going to show your ID. By the way, to do that is an app on your phone. They send you an app to your phone. You take a picture of your driver's license, put it back to the phone. Proctor gets it, she checks it, or he checks it. You're checked in, start the exam, and you're good to go. Okay. Just remember, these are the 2 ways of taking your exam. You have that in-person testing center. Remember the pros and cons of that. And of course, my favorite, the new live online proctored exam. In this video, I'm going to be talking about managing your time on the PMP exam. Now, if you're taking the current PMP exam, you know that it's critical to understand how the exam is laid out and how you should manage that time. I'm Andrew Ramdial, and I am the author of this book, PMP Exam Prep Simplified, which is Amazon's bestseller for the PMP exams. If you want to knock out your exam, get this book. All right, let's get right into this here and get you guys what you need to know. So let's talk about time management. Now, if you've attended my live streams that I do every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, join me if you could, you'll notice that some people finish this exam with 1.5 hours left. In other words, they took about 2.5 hours. Some people finish it, have an hour left. Some people finish it and have 30 minutes left. And then some people don't finish it. In fact, last week, what prompted me to make this video was that somebody said that they finished the exam and didn't answer 20 or 30 questions. Oddly enough, they still passed and they didn't answer all those questions. I was reading on a forum a couple of days ago that somebody didn't answer 50 questions or 60 questions and they failed the test. So what you guys want to do is to watch the clock because it's widely varying. Some people can finish this exam very quickly and some people are going to run the clock out. Now, the majority of students that I know of will pretty much take the entire time to finish the exam. In other words, you're going to be there for the entire duration of the test. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys some tips, and I'll give you guys 2 time hacks of how to gain more time, some things you can do to actually gain more time and finish the exam sooner. So let's go through it. What are those things? Let's knock them out. So the first thing up is I want to tell you about the exam. So the exam is going to be 230 minutes, and you're going to have to do 180 questions. So 230 minutes, 180 questions. That works out to about 1.2 minutes per question, or about 75 seconds per question is really what that comes out to. So when you're taking the exam, that's what you want to remember. I can't spend technically little over a minute per question. Now, the exam is broken down into 3 sets of 60. So I broke that down here for you, and I show you guys how to manage the time here. There are 2 breaks included on the exam that is not part of the 230. So the total seating time for the exam, including breaks, is 250 minutes. So what that means is you get 230 minutes to answer questions. You take 2 10-minute breaks. So it's 250 minutes. You're taking that exam for. That includes the breaks. Let's see how it's broken down. So I'm going to give you guys the breakdown here, and then we're going to talk about some ways of how to gain time and answer questions and stuff like that. So let's knock this out here. So the exam starts with the timer at 2:30, and it clicks down. That's another common question. It doesn't like tell you it doesn't go up to 4 hours. No, it starts at 2:30 and it works its way down. Now remember, it's 3 sets of questions, 3 sets of 60 questions. So it starts at number 2:30, minute number 2:30, and then it starts to go down. Within that first section, you're going to do questions 1 to 60. Now, each one of these sets should take about 75 minutes. So keep that in mind. 75 minutes, it should take about each one of the 60 questions set. Now you say, how'd you get that number? Well, 230 divided by 3, basically. So if you start at 230, by the time you finish this set, it should be at number 155 when you start the next set. Literally 230 minus 75. Now, when you finish this first 60 question set, so let's say you're doing the exam. You start the exam. You start question 1 to question 2, question 3. You get to question number 60 and you finish it. The exam says, would you like to submit this set? You submit it. It says, would you like to take a break? And you say, yeah, I want to take a break. You click yes, and a 10-minute timer starts. Now, during this break, you can actually leave the exam room. You can take a walk, use the bathroom. You can get something to eat. I tell people stay on your feet because you've been sitting on your butt all the time. Go walk around a little bit, do some push-ups, get the blood flowing. You need blood in your brains. You need oxygen in your brain to keep on thinking. Now, you come back. You start the exam. You're going to start at around number 155. Then you do questions 61 to 120. After you finish questions 61 to 120, you get another break that's 10 minutes. Now, you're going to want to take this break, and particularly this break, because this break is super important. You see, in this break, you're going to be super tired because you've finished 120 questions. You've been sitting in front of this exam for about 2 hours plus now at this point. So it's going to get pretty tiring. So please take this break, 10 minutes once again, get up, walk around, get some blood flowing. You come back now. The timer is right around, it should be, I should say, right around 80 minutes. And then you start number 121 to 180, and you just have about 75, 80 minutes to do this. When this ends, when you finish the last 180 set, you submit it, the exam ends, it'll give you your grade right away. It'll tell you whether you passed or you failed, and how you did on the 3 areas of people's process and business. Now, I want to mention something about these things here. When you do each set, so when you finish the question 1 to 60 and you submit it and you take the break, you cannot come back to this set. So when you start questions 61, 62, 63, you can't go back to questions 1 to 60. Keep that in mind. When you're in each set, you can answer, you can mark for review, you can go back and forth. You can do question 1, 2, 3, 4, then you say, okay, I want to go back to 2. You can do that. You could mark them for review. When you get to question 60, you can then review back 58, 59, 10, 15, all the way back up to 1. When you're doing question 61 to 120, you can only review in that set. You can't review in the previous set. So keep that in mind. Okay, so this is the timer breakdown. You want to keep these timer in mind. As you're doing the exam, keep these timer in mind that when I finish the first set, the clock should be somewhere around 1:55. Maybe it'll be 150, 145, 160, something like that. That's a good number. Those are fine. By the time you come down to the last section now, you should have 75, 80, 85. The worst I would think is going to be maybe 70 minutes on the clock. All right. You don't want to be rushing through the exam. Okay. So this is the breakdown of how the exam is laid out. Hopefully you guys understand this. So when you go in the room, keep these times in mind. And when you're doing practice exams, like if you have my simulator, the TIA simulator, I give you mock exams of 60. You should do this. You should take 3 of the mock exams and do these exact way I'm showing it to you, right? Do one set, submit it, take a 10-minute break, do another set, submit it, 10-minute break, and then see how you feel. You got to practice your time management skill. All right. Now let's get to the part of the section. So this is the breakdown of the exam. So people say, Andrew, how do you hack it? How do you gain more time? Well, obviously there's no real way to hack anything to get more time, but here are some quick tips on how to do that. So let's take a look here. So the first thing up I have is time hack number 1. All right. Spend less time on easy questions, more on harder questions. Now, I know that I literally just said it's about 75 seconds a question or 1.2 minutes. That doesn't mean you spend 1.2 minutes on every single question. That doesn't mean that every time a question comes around, you're watching the clock and you're thinking to yourself, well, I need to do 1 minute. No, there's some questions on this exam that are just like that. You read it, you can answer it in 30 seconds. The exam is not going to give you big questions. You're not going to have very wordy paragraph style questions. In fact, you're probably going to get maybe 2 or 3 sentences per question. There's some question that if you know the mindset out of the book, out of the course, you're going to be able to answer this question just like that. Remember, don't fire people. Analyze stuff before taking action. You know the mindset, right? You see me watch them. You see me do them in the video. You see me do them in the simulator. Explain them in the book. So spend less time on the easy questions. That way, when you get to a hard question, you're going to say to yourself, okay, this is a difficult one. I got to debate these choices. I really got to apply the mindset. That's when you're really going to need that extra minute per question. You see, if you had 2 easy questions and you did them in 30 seconds, you got yourself another extra minute you can spend on hard questions. Not to mention, you're going to have drag and drop questions. The drag and drop questions, you're going to have to match up definitions. And in things like that, that's going to take 2 to 3 minutes to do. So you want to make sure you spend less time on easy questions, on more on harder questions. Now, one thing that I tell folks to do in time hack number 2 is don't spend too long on hard questions though. Mark for review and move on. This is what happens to people. They get to a hard question. They read it. They're sitting there for a few minutes debating it. And before you know it, they do this to too many questions and that timer, boom, runs out. Let me tell you guys something. That 4-hour timer on that PMP will be the quickest 4 hours of your life. All right. You get on a treadmill. I was on a treadmill, this morning and that 30 minutes just never ends. But you get into an exam room, that 30 minutes, just like that. You know, it flies by. Just before you know it, you'll answer a couple of questions. 30 minutes will be over. Here's what I want you guys to do. When you get to a difficult question, what you're going to do is you are going to read it, all of it, give it, look at the choices, and you are not going to don't spend more than a minute and a half on this question. I know it's difficult. Select a choice. Don't move on without selecting. Select a choice on the question. Use the mindset. That's what the mindset was designed to do, to eliminate the choices and help you select the best choice. Use the mindset, answer it, mark for review, and move on to the next one. If you don't do this, watch, that timer is going to run out on you. You're going to get to the last 60 set, 121 to 180, and instead of having 70 or 80 minutes, you're probably going to have 20, 30 minutes. And I've heard about this way too many times. That's why I'm saying it. So what you're going to do, read it, give it your best guess, answer it, move on. Read it, give it your best guess, answer it, move on. Now, when you get to the end of the section, and you still got a little bit extra time. Remember, I showed you the section times. What was it? 230, 155, and 80. Remember something. When you get to the end of the section, and you still got maybe you got a few minutes more, 10 minutes extra, 5 minutes, go back and review it and debate those answers if you want. But don't let the hard question consume the time, because you know what's going to happen? You spend too long on these hard questions. and then you never get around to answering the easy questions that came at the end, and you end up failing the test. You don't want that. All right, so that is a couple tips there on how to manage your time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. We got much more content for you guys on how to pass your exam on the first try. Get my books, get my videos, get my simulator if you want to pass your exam on the first try, and I'll see you in the next video. In this video, I'm going to be going over the PMI PMP examination content outline for the 2021 PMP exam. Now, every 3 to 5 years, PMI will update the PMP exam. They generally do a survey of project managers and determine what is happening in the current industry around them. And they, based on this survey, they make a brand new PMP exam. So the last time they did this was in 2018. They released a brand new exam based on a new examination content outline. And this basically switched it from PMBOK 5 to PMBOK 6th edition. Well, here we are in 2021. And in this particular exam, what they did was they kept the PMBOK 6th edition, but they incorporated half Agile into your current exam. You'll see a statement that I took out of the examination content outline. Now, what this examination content outline has in it are tasks. It's 35 tasks that it lists. And these tasks basically represents the responsibilities that a project manager is going to have to follow. They basically give us the topics that the exam will test on. Now, before I get into this, there are 35 of these tasks. Before I get into this, you could download the document as a resource in this video. But I do want to point out that in the end, towards the end of the class, after the Agile section, in this course, I'm going to go over every single one of these 35 tasks that they have in depth. It's a fairly lengthy series of videos where I cover all 35, and I will tell you exactly what you need to know for your exam for every single one of the tasks. So when you get to the exam, nothing should be a surprise. I'm also going to give you some great PowerPoint slides that I'm going to attach to that section also with it, so you don't necessarily have to make a lot of notes. I have done the note taking for you. Let's take a look here at the examination content outline. So I have a statement that I took right out of it. And again, this pertains to your exam. So it says in the statement, it says about half of the examination will represent predictive project management approaches, and the other half will represent agile or hybrid approaches. So let's talk about this here for a second. This was a controversial topic. I know when it came out, people were saying, oh, why is PMP incorporating Agile? They have a PMI ACP certification for that. There's Scrum certification. PMP should be. No. Project management professional. If you are certified, and I agreed with this, I think PMI did the right thing in this 2021 exam. As a PMP, you should be able to manage any project, whether it's a traditional, it's a hybrid, or it's a agile project. So if I hire, let's say I hire you, you said you're a PMP certified person, and you come to work in my organization. I hire you and you come here and I'm like, okay, here's a hybrid project. You should know how to do it. There are many projects where the project of itself includes parts of it being agile, parts of it being traditional. For example, in software development, parts of the project that is uncertain, has a high level of uncertainty, like developing the software itself, can follow agile practices. But the part of the project that doesn't have much uncertainty, because the organization may have done it multiple times, such as deploying that software to the users, that can follow a more traditional method. So the programmers follow an agile versus the installers, the system administrators, the network administrators follow a traditional method. Now you have a hybrid project. You, as a project manager, need to know both. That's why this is a great addition to the current PMP exam. And that's why I split the course into two. As you go through this, you'll notice the first half of the course covers traditional project management. We're going to go through all of those 49 processes in PMBOK. We're going to know their inputs and their outputs. We're going to go through all the tools that is within them. And then finally, I'm going to come down to this big section on Agile. Now, this big section on Agile basically covers all the Agile concepts, and it covers a lot of the PMI ACP concepts that I covered in my PMI ACP course. that is already there. So we're going to give you all the agile techniques. And then finally, there's a section on the hybrid projects. Not a big section because it just combines them. We'll talk about how we can combine traditional and hybrid and agile to create a hybrid approach. Like I just gave you an example there. So remember, 50% of your question is going to be traditional, 50% is going to come from agile. Now let's talk about the breakdown of the exam here. So 42% of your exam questions will come from managing people. You know what? Remember something. Projects is about people. People does projects. Deliverables and products are not made by tools and software. They are made by people. Projects is about people. So we need to manage people. You know, if you think about it, what's the real definition of a project? It's a bunch of people working together to produce something, to create something, to change something, to improve something. It's about people management. So in this particular one here, we're going to be doing things like building your project team, engaging your stakeholders. Big part of it, resolving conflicts. In fact, that's the first of those 35 tasks, resolving conflicts. You're always going to have conflict on a project, right? Two team members, team member and a sponsor, a product owner, and a team member, customer, and project manager. Conflicts throughout your project. You're going to have to know how to manage that. The next one is 50% of your exam questions. We're talking about processes. This is knowing your 49 processes in PMP1 6. This is going to be knowing the agile process. What happens after you do that sprint or iteration review meeting? How do you do retrospectives? What happens after the product backlog has been prioritized? How do you create a project management plan? How do you direct and manage your project work? How are you going to monitor and control your project work? We got a lot of processes to cover, both in the agile section and in the traditional section. We're going to get in depth into that later. And then finally, business environment, 8% of your exam question. Now, the business environment, you have to be aware of the external environment that could affect your project. The first one they talked about there was compliance, for example. As a project manager, I work in the education industry. As a project manager in the education industry here in the New York State education, we have so much regulations we have to follow. We are a New York State licensed school. We are an accredited school. We go through so much regulations. It affects every part of our project. You as a project manager have to know the regulations that can affect your project. Don't forget, building a financial application in a school is a whole lot different than building a financial application in a bank or an insurance firm. So there's so many different things that can affect your projects. A PMI says, hey, you got to know about those things. So when you walk into an organization and you're managing a project, you have a good understanding. And then don't forget the 35 tasks here that I mentioned that is in this examination content outline. Now, I don't want you to worry too much about this examination content outline yet. What I want you to do is I want you to go through the course. I want you to know all of the topics that I'm going to be going through. Know all your 49 processes, know the agile concepts, know the agile process terms, tooling, and so on. And then we're going to come back to this, right? We're going to get back to this. I'm going to go through every single one of those tasks. I'm going to go through all their enablers, or their examples, we should say. And we're going to drill this down. We're going to know this well. And then finally, we're going to take a look at that mindset. Combined with the mindset, combined by going through these tasks on all the processes, I'm 100% sure you're going to ace this PMP exam. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the secrets to passing your PMP. Well, here's a video that all of you will probably be watching. A lot of people come to me and says, Andrew, is there a real secret to passing this exam other than studying? Notice I said other than studying. I mean, you still have to study. And the answer is yes. I believe that there is a secret to pass. And I'll give you an interesting story on the last secret there that is coming up. So let's get right into it here. What exactly is the secret? Well, number one is way too often do I find students memorizing things. So the first thing I'll tell you guys is understand the concept. Don't memorize them. Now, there are things to memorize. Things like your EVM formulas. Things like a certain set of processes. But don't go memorize 49 processes and 700 whatever it is, inputs, tools, and outputs. Don't memorize all these agile concepts and terms and all these things. Don't memorize them. It's not going to help you pass this exam. You must understand them. So as I'm going through all these processes, both traditional and agile, you want to ask yourself this. Am I understanding this? Does this make sense? Do I know where to use this? Do I know how to use this? If you can do that, you're going to pass. This exam is not going to ask you, what's the output of this process? What's the tool used in this process? Nope, they're not going to do that. They'll say, in this scenario, what's the best tool to use? That's what they're going to tell you. And then they're going to give you a list of tools. Let me give you an example. Let's say they give you a question on how to collect requirements. Now, if you know this process of collect requirements, and this is a PMBOK process, one of those 49 process, they give you a question on how to collect requirements, and then they're going to give you a scenario, and they're going to say what tool will help collect requirements for the scenario. Then they're going to give you a list of tools. Here's the thing. All of those tools are going to be tools that is actually listed in that process. So if you had to just memorize it, and you didn't know what those tools actually were, how to use them, and what scenario they fit in, there's no way you can get this question right. So you're going to want to make sure you understand these things. Just don't take notes and memorize it, right? That's not going to help you. Now, the second tip that I give students, that I tell them, this is really one of the most important, I should say, secret, is do not apply your work experience. What you do at work is not what we're going to do in this class. It's not what we're going to do on this exam. And I'm going to go as far as saying this, and this is going to irritate a lot of you. A lot of you guys are probably going to say, Andrew, I want my money back now. But if you want to pass, you got to do what I'm telling you. The more experience you have as a project manager, the more likely you're going to fail. Yes, you're probably saying, what? Yes, I just said that. The more work experience you have, the more likely you're not going to pass. If I take my teenage daughter and I tell her, and I teach her this class, and I give her the PMP, just like this, and she'll pass. If I take any young person that has never done project management, and boom, they pass. Just like that. They'll say, Andrew, this was an easy test. You know why? Because their minds are blank. Their minds doesn't have anything. Whatever I tell them, they're going to say, okay, I guess that's the way it's done. But you, with all your 10 years of experience, you know what you're going to do to me? You're going to say, well, Andrew, that's not the way it's done. That's in my experience. I hear this a lot. Based on my experience, that may not work. Well, you know what? This isn't about your experience. This is about the best practices of managing a project. The PMBOK, the Agile Practitioner Guide. These things are best practices. And what you do in your job is not necessarily what we're going to do here. I tell all my students on the first day of class, and I'm telling you this, probably this is your first day of my class. I tell all my students, starting from right now, what you're going to do is you're going to clear your mind. You're going to erase all of your many years worth of experience. Now, I can see the smile on your face right now. I could see through this camera. Did you know that? You're going to erase all of your work experience. You're going to start with a blank slate. You don't know what a project is. You don't know how to manage a project. You don't know how to solve conflict. You don't know how to make a schedule. You don't know how to make a budget. You don't know how to manage risk. None of that. I am about to tell you how to do it. Well, not just me, but PMBOK and the Agile Practice Guides and a few other books that was used to create this course in the exam. They're going to tell us how to do it, because you know what that's going to do? That's going to set us up for the mindset. So what you're going to have to do is apply the PMI project manager mindset. This is the last section of the class where I'm going to go over the mindset. I have an interesting story with this mindset. And you'll hear me tell this story back when I get into this. So, I work at another school I work at called Technical Institute of America. And they are a authorized training partner. And as a part of the authorized training partner program, we get 200 real PMP questions, right? You check out Technical Institute of America. tiaedu.com, you'll see the 200 real exam questions. These are boot camps. These are not video courses. And, I got the questions and I was going through all 200 of them, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to try something. I'm going to not read the question. And I decided not to read the question. Just look at the choices. I'm going to look at the 4 choices, or 5 or 6, because sometimes you have to choose multiple. And I'm going to look at the choices, and I'm going to answer 20 questions in a row. And remember, I have the mindset. I wrote the mindset, right? I said, you know what? I'm going to go through and I'm going to just choose choices without reading. I got 14 out of 20. Now you're probably saying, Andrew, that's not a lot. Well, oh yes, it is, considering I never read the question. All I did was read the choices. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's the choice PMI wants. This is how PMI is going to look at it. This is what a servant leader does. This is what a PMBOK project manager does. Those choices, denying something, approving something right away, don't collaborate with people, those are never choices. That's not how this exam is going to test on. And I was right, 14 out of 20. Then when I went back and I read them, I could have probably got all 20 correct if I would have just read the question. So without even looking at the question, 14 out of 20, I thought it was pretty good. This is what I want you to do. That's why in that last section of the project manager mindset, you're going to know it well. And I'm going to be repeating some things. This is a point in that I've had a bunch of students go through my mindset section, and they always say, Andrew, keep repeating yourself. You'll see why. Then they take the exam, and then they say, oh, now I see why he kept saying that. You'll see why. That mindset section is super important. Okay. Those are the secrets. So did you remember what the secrets were? I took them off the screen. The secrets were, don't memorize things. Make sure you understand them. Don't apply your work experience. Never say this. Never answer a question and say, well, based on my experience, I would go with B. Don't do that. Ever. Say this to yourself. Well, based on PMBOK, based on Agile Practitioner Guide, based on best practices, what would they like to apply? That's going to be the answer. What is the PMI project manager mindset? That's what they're going to apply. So know that mindset. Forget your experience. Don't memorize things. You do these things. I am sure you're going to pass your exam on the first try. You know what? I am 100% sure you're going to pass your exam on the first try.